Picture this: 300 men standing against an army of hundreds of thousands. No chance of survival. No hope of victory. Just certain death. And yet, they chose to stay. Why? Because sometimes the greatest victories don't come from winning. They come from refusing to kneel. This is the story of Leonidas, and the most legendary last stand in human history. Leonidas wasn't supposed to be just another king. From the moment he was born, people knew something was different. The priests talked about strange lights in the sky the night he came into this world. The oracle at Delphi had made prophecies about his bloodline, saying a descendant of the ancient kings would one day save Greece from total destruction. But prophecies don't make heroes. Training does. At 7 years old, Leonidas entered the Agoge, and if you think boot camp is tough, you haven't heard about Spartan childhood. Imagine being a kid and getting thrown into the wilderness with nothing but a cloak. You're expected to survive on whatever you can hunt or steal. They starved you on purpose, made you fight other boys until someone couldn't stand up anymore, ran you until your feet bled, and if you complained, you got it twice as bad. The whole point was simple: break the weak, forge the strong. Leonidas excelled at all of it. While other boys struggled, he thrived. His instructors noticed something special about him. He didn't just survive the brutal training, he became a leader among his peers. The kind of guy who could inspire others with just a look. The kind who stayed calm when everyone else panicked. Now, being a warrior was one thing. Being a king? That took something else entirely. Leonidas married Gorgo, and this woman was absolutely brilliant. Most ancient cultures didn't let women have opinions on anything important, but Gorgo? She was giving political advice since she was a child. When Leonidas became king, she became his most trusted advisor. They weren't just husband and wife, they were partners. While he handled the battlefield, she managed the politics back home, and honestly, they made a perfect team. Here's the thing though, Leonidas wasn't even supposed to be king. His older half-brother Cleomenes ruled first, but the guy went completely insane and died under mysterious circumstances. Then the throne should have gone to another brother, Dorius, but he said, "Nah, I'm good," and went off to start colonies somewhere else. So suddenly, Leonidas, the warrior who'd spent his whole life preparing for battle, found himself running an entire city-state. And the timing couldn't have been worse. While Leonidas was settling into his new role, a storm was brewing in the east. The Persian Empire, the largest the world had ever seen, was coming for Greece. First came Darius, the Persian king who wanted to punish Athens for supporting a rebellion. He sent a massive army to Marathon. The Athenians begged Sparta for help. But here's where it gets frustrating. Sparta had this religious festival called the Carnia, and their laws said they couldn't march to war during it. They had to wait for the full moon. Leonidas argued with the council. He knew how important this was, but tradition won out. By the time the Spartans arrived at Marathon, the battle was already over. The Athenians had won without them. You can imagine how that felt for Leonidas, the greatest warrior culture in Greece, and they missed the biggest battle of the generation because of a calendar. But he didn't have to wait long for another chance. Darius died, and his son Xerxes took over. And Xerxes? He made his father's invasion look like a warm-up. This guy mobilized the entire Persian Empire. Soldiers from Egypt, from Asia Minor, from every conquered territory. Ancient historians claimed his army was over 1 million strong, which was probably an exaggeration, but even half that number would have been terrifying. Xerxes built a bridge of boats across the Hellespont so his army could march from Asia into Europe. He dug a canal through a peninsula to move his fleet. This wasn't just an invasion. This was the ancient equivalent of D-Day, except the biggest force in history was attacking the smallest collection of city-states. The Greek cities realized they had two choices: unite or die. So they formed the Hellenic League, with Sparta leading the military command. Old rivals like Athens and Sparta, who normally couldn't stand each other, were now forced to work together. The Persians sent messengers to all the Greek cities demanding earth and water, which was their way of saying surrender now. When these messengers showed up in Sparta, Leonidas and his men grabbed them and threw them down a well. As they fell, The Spartans shouted, "There's your earth and water." That's when Xerxes knew this wasn't going to be easy. Before making any major decision, the Greeks always consulted the oracle at Delphi. So Sparta sent representatives to ask what would happen if they fought the Persians. The oracle's answer was chilling. Either Sparta will be utterly destroyed, or one of its kings must die. Think about that for a second. The oracle basically told Leonidas, if you want your city to survive, you have to sacrifice yourself. Most people would have looked for a loophole. Not Leonidas. When he asked permission to mobilize the full Spartan army, the ephors, these powerful magistrates, said no. Same problem as before, religious festivals. They couldn't march during the Carnia, but this time, the Council of Elders found a compromise. Leonidas could take his personal guard. 300 men. Just 300. He sent messages to allied cities, and they responded. Thebans, Corinthians, Thespians, others. In total, about 7,000 Greeks gathered, against hundreds of thousands of Persians. Leonidas chose his 300 carefully. He only picked men who had sons, ensuring that their family lines would continue after they died. Because make no mistake, he knew they weren't coming back. In the summer of 480 BC, Leonidas led his men to a narrow pass called Thermopylae, the Hot Gates. It was perfect terrain for defense. Mountains on one side, the sea on the other, and only a small strip of land in between. The Persians' numbers wouldn't matter if they could only attack through that bottleneck. The Greeks rebuilt an old wall and prepared their position. Then they waited. When Xerxes' army finally arrived, it must have been a terrifying sight. The ground shook from thousands of feet marching in unison. The horizon was filled with soldiers, stretching as far as anyone could see. Xerxes sent scouts to check out the Greek position. They reported back with something strange. The Spartans were exercising and combing their hair. Xerxes laughed. He thought they were insane, but a Greek exile told him the truth. They're preparing for death. It's their custom to groom themselves before battle. Xerxes gave them 4 days to surrender. Leonidas refused. So the battle began. The first Persian troops charged forward, confident this would be over quickly. They crashed into a wall of bronze shields and iron discipline. The Spartan phalanx was a thing of beauty and terror. Every man protected the guy next to him. Every spear thrust was coordinated. They moved as one organism, impossible to break. Wave after wave of Persians attacked. Wave after wave fell. A Persian messenger warned the Greeks. Our arrows will be so numerous, they'll blot out the sun. A Spartan warrior named Dionysus replied,